Start. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah. Hi, Charles.
Hi, Deb. Hi, everybody.
Okay, so I wrote this big, long note to Charles. I mean, it was like it's like book length. I can, and we decided that we'd make it into a case study on air in case anybody else has something similar. There's this, it seems like a lot of people are getting into, what is it? I think it's teachable.com now, use Fedora
Right.
and Udemy. And there's already people that have membership sites and they're training. And I think it's wonderful. I must have subscribed to like probably, I don't know, 25 different sites that people have, have WordPress.
Yeah.
Plus Udemy, there's probably 100 courses there that I haven't finished. But
Right.
But it seems like a lucrative way to make money with your knowledge.
Yep. Yeah.
You have some, don't you, Charles?
I don't have any on Udemy, but I do have some of out there, and produce them, all the time. It is a I think it's a fantastic way to just really trying to capture your expertise.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you think of it, I'm always doing the ROI and the math on it, and as much fun as it is, and I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, will you do the one-on-one tutoring?" Problem is, the one-on-one tutoring, you're gonna have to charge a lot more. It's so much easier if you have even 8 people that pay maybe $100 for a 10-week course. You're making better money than just one person.
Yeah, and people, it's hard to get anybody to do anything in real time anymore, right? And to be quite honest, I don't want to do anything in real time. So, it's kind of like having a course means, if I do a good enough job of it, means then that somebody can learn from me, and then they can kind of learn at their own pace, and not even so much at their own pace, but just in the time that they like to be learning stuff.
And I think, that's a great advantage. That's a good point. Because like what I'm doing right now for the college where I'm working, it's at a set time, but I know that set time, I mean, they've got students all over the world who wants to get up at 3 a.m. for a set time, just because I don't want to teach at 3 a.m. So, I mean, it ends up being kind of around my time zone. And I see more people hitting the recordings than coming to the live sessions.
Right. Yeah. And that's always been the rub with, I think, way back when, that was what I did. I did instructional technology, and they called it, asynchronous, kind of like, well, how can we have, a great class, and how can we have a great class if everybody's kind of coming in at the same time, contributing to a discussion? And I mean, I guess you can, but a lot of that really does kind of fall back to, the willingness of the participants to kind of be involved in discussion, online or off.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. Mine like to send me emails, so I guess that's discussion, but that takes longer. Not complaining, guys. Love answering your emails, but but I was last week we talked about Webinar Fusion Pro, and that seems like a really good answer. I'm looking like a shaggy dog with purple hair. Sorry. It's not a good hair day or wig day. With Webinar Fusion Pro, where you have it pre-recorded, so you don't have the stress. Because I don't know about you, Charles, but if I haven't like prepared my curriculum right before a live session, it's like, oh no, what am I gonna?
Right. Yeah. And one of the things that I think has happened, even with so many people being on Facebook and social media all the time, is that you almost feel the need that, okay, well, in order to get everybody involved, I need to be there. I need to put it there. And then what happens is, some of the interaction in those places where everybody is and everything else is, it's kind of like all over the place, right? People's minds are not in the right. And I can't even say that as a facilitator or as an instructor, that when I'm in that space where everything is, my mind's in the right place, right? Because
mine probably is.
Right. I mean, Facebook, if you think about it, and I mean, I have no love. I mean, I don't love or hate Facebook.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is, but it's wild. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's stuff. I mean, there's these tickers going on this side. You got this thing, got ads going. And I mean, I almost think that when somebody actually does say something, you kind of wonder, what they're, what they're what was on your mind when you said that. It could be any number of things.
That's a really good point. That's a good point. And I noticed that I have like the little chat pod going on when I'm doing the teaching. And you can tell that, especially the East Coast, and I can appreciate this, but even though most of the people are on the East Coast, I feel like I should have the time conducive to them. There's also a few that are on the West Coast that, you know, if I do it like 6 p.m. on the East Coast, they're still at work and they can't participate. So, you know, I thought I've been doing it the later times, but I've got little sleepy heads at, you know, 9 o'clock. It's like my brain is not there and I don't care about statistics. I'm not engaged on this. So you kind of see that in their interactive, and you do see different things. You see the West Coast going, oh, but you know, I'm going out after this, and the East Coast, I'm just trying to stay awake through this.
Right. Yes.
It's not like statistics is the most lively topic, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, and it is a challenge, but it's still, I think, you know, with the advent of being able to kind of put a video someplace where somebody can watch it, and being able to well, and you mentioned it, right? I mean, you're still available to people by email if you make yourself available to somebody if they really got a question. And I still think that it kind of beats having to be someplace live, at least to learn.
That's true. And, you know, I was thinking that with this, the whole interactive aspect, a lot of times I look for videos on YouTube that I think explain it really well. I mean, sometimes there's some videos on statistics, no offense, but they're so academic. My eyeballs are rolling back. I don't get it, you know? And then there was this one that he was showing orange juice, coffee, and water. I think maybe I mentioned that last week. I'm like, finally, something that we all can relate to that. We can, okay, this is good. But when you have the live interactive, even if you're showing another video, at least you can get the feedback, and the people are responding going, wow, this makes more sense. I understand it. It's like, all right, check mark. That's a keeper of video. So maybe all I'm doing is, you know, making lists of videos for students to watch, but then if it's helping them, I suppose that's good.
But somebody has to do that. And, you know, it's really kind of funny that, you know, you kind of brought up the topic today, because I think this, just yesterday, I was kind of looking at, I've never really understood what, you know, gamification was. I mean, and so I finally went to just, okay, I need to understand what this is, right? And so, you know, I guess, you know, when somebody completes something and they get a badge, they do something and they get points, and then some of these various businesses or even learning environments, they do these things so that people will kind of compete with themselves to stay engaged. And you know, I don't know if that's a like a hard and fast thing, but I think it's a kind of an interesting way and an interesting dimension to kind of add to a course.
That's a great idea.
The technology, though, oddly, is almost not really quite there yet, because I was trying to find a way to do it on WordPress. And there's not quite a way, right? There's not quite a way to create a WordPress thing where somebody that completes a quiz. You and I complete a quiz, and then we know, and then we get a badge, and then there's this leaderboard where I know you completed yours, but I didn't complete mine. So I'm kind of like, okay, I got to complete mine now.
But you know, as you're describing all these, I'm thinking LinkedIn has it. You know, it's like even the part where they say, you know, 90% of your profile, it's kind of leaves you going, oh, I want 100%. I mean, when you think about it, there's a lot of gamification out there, and I actually enjoy it. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but it's kind of fun to get little badges. There's even Examiner. I write for Examiner, and there was like, I mean, I've got most of the normal ones. There's some that say after you've written there for 10 years. So obviously that one I can't do anything until I sit there for 10 years. But the little badges, like the first time that you publish on a Wednesday, and then you publish on a Thursday, and then, you know, so it's like the writers come in, and if they're into the gamification, they can go get like 30 badges, you know, within a few weeks.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the company that I guess does it that I have the most contact with is Starbucks. Seems like they do it really well. That you know, when you're going in and you're trying to, you know, get your points, and it's all visual, you know, it's all there, and you see the little clock going up before you get your next free drink and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think you know, inside of these things, it's almost as if I think in that way, the academic world to some degree is kind of ahead of business in that way. And I think this is where, I think business could kind of learn from academia and kind of pull some of that sort of rewarding people for finishing stuff and putting that into those courses where, I'm learning for my own benefit, but still it kind of would be cool if you kind of lead me with some incentive.
I like that. And I'm thinking in terms of like what I'm offering, which is more, I don't know, well, it's called supplemental instruction, but it's not required because they're trying to make it so that the student comes in and pays for the course, but they're not feeling completely overwhelmed, so they have to participate. But it's a free service for the student. I mean, I get paid to do it, but the idea is that here's some extra help, some extra free tutoring. But thinking of what you're saying, it'd be really cool if they could get badges, like for each one that they watch or each one they attend, they could get a little badge and self-compete or even compete with other people. Say, look at me, I'm attending SI. I've got 8 badges. How many do you have?
Right. Yeah. And I think ultimately, I guess we'll see, right? I guess the courses that people who are professional, I'm sure someone will kind of come up with a platform that'll do it for somebody. But that's ultimately, I think, where a lot of these things are going to go, where even if you have people inside of a course and you're teaching them basket weaving or you're teaching them SEO, part of the challenge, and you and I have both talked about this before, is getting people to consume the content, right? And so they've paid for it, or
I have so many courses I had to finish. I said that before. Meanwhile, but to actually consume it.
Right. Yeah. And I've read, and I've even said, okay, well, you definitely want to be, you want to email somebody on the first time you get the course. But then what happens is, even that, I can still ignore an email, even though I just bought a course. I can ignore a person's email, but there's something about kind of logging in for the first time and seeing, well, Deb has finished her first lesson. And even though it's asynchronous, right? Even though I might have joined the course, 2 days after you did, but to see that you're kind of ahead, you kind of want, okay, well, I want to kind of see what I can do now, right?
And I think some groups do that. I feel really bad because I interviewed her. I'm getting really bad at this. It's like I'll recognize people and then later, what was the name of their program? I'm not going to make a fool of myself because actually it's not about making a fool of myself. It's not reflecting well on her. So I'm just going to not mention her. But anyway, she had like I think it was a 90-day thing, but different activities. Listapalooza. There we go. It's there. But, when they have these different activities where you can actually, there's some stuff that you can do on your own and then you can show up. I still got really busy during that time period, not an excuse, just an explanation. And I didn't completely finish it, but I'm geared up for the next time that she does it. But the ability to, hey, on Tuesday, we're going to have this power hour together. And then on Thursday, we're going to do this too. And it's maybe not badges, but it kind of gives you that sense of accomplishment along with other people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And I guess some of that stuff does exist in WordPress and in different spaces. But again, I guess it's like everything else. I guess the instructor or the teacher or the course creator kind of has to fill in that gap and do what they can to try to get people to engage.
Yep. And that's tough.
That's the hard part, especially if you don't have anything that's because again, that's still, even if I send an email, right? If I send an email to try to engage somebody, even if they don't get it until 7 p.m. and I send it at 3, I'm still doing that real time, right? So ultimately, this is where I think the technology matters. Where you have to have something that's there. Because when I go to Starbucks, right, I don't have a person, a customer service agent telling me, Charles, you're only 3 stars away from your next free cup.
Right.
The badge is in there, and it kind of changes when I, go and do something. And this is where one of those cases where I think the technology, if it's done right, matters.
I think it does too. I agree. And I think that more of that, I used to be more other than this course, it's like, okay, this is happening at this time, even like the Twitter chat and all these different things. And I think that's important. But I think too, and maybe it's just because I got to a point where burnout starts to set in. If you can figure out a way to have the technology do some of that, and maybe you're triggered when you need to respond to something, but where you're not necessarily glued in a real-time environment 24/7. There's a little more sanity that way.
This is interesting because I remember back when I was doing the doctorate in instructional technology, one of the things about doing it in an academic environment was that some of the theories said you didn't want to do that in an academic environment because you didn't want to shame anybody who moves slower. And I think because at that point in time, and this was years ago though, right? This is back years ago. And I think people were still kind of getting used to learning online.
Fascinating doctorate, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, yeah, no, it was. And so if you shame somebody, would that motivate them to kind of get in and get involved? And if they got involved, would they get involved in the right way? And because we at that point were erring to the side of not doing it, people were still lamenting over the fact, well, how can we get these people involved? Well,
I'd leave. I'm sorry. If you shame me, I'd be like, I'm done. I didn't think I need to be shamed. I don't know. I like the positive thing, but I haven't studied the same thing that you studied. But if someone's saying I feel so stupid because I'm not getting it in statistics, and then it'd be like, that's why we're here. We're going to learn this together. Ask the questions because probably somebody else has the same question. You try to bring them out of that shame. I don't know if I'm on the same page at all.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And there was no right or wrong answer. And then, there were settings that you could put in. And I guess at the time people were using Blackboard. I think now it's Brightspace or something like that. But at that time, there were settings that you could put inside of the courseware where the instructor could track, if they wanted to, how many times the students logged in. And they could
Blackboard, I can see.
Right. You can also set it so that everybody can see in a group how many times everybody logged in, and that's really important because if we're all working on a group project together,
okay,
and Charles is out to lunch and everybody else is kind of putting their stuff together, then the group needs to kind of know, well, this dude doesn't even come to the group.
Okay. All right. Now I can see some value kind of on that shame in an area that probably something should be said. Yeah. If somebody doesn't log in at all, I had one of those projects like that where I couldn't see the login, but he wasn't giving any of the material for the paper. So the rest of us had to write it. And fortunately we had like a peer review. And I suppose that's where that shame part of it could come in at the end. And all of us just gave the peer review that, and I'm sorry, Charles, his name happened to be Charles.
Right.
But it's like, the dude never showed up.
Yeah, bro, where you been?
Yeah, I didn't thought about that. But yeah, there's other terms. I think I'm brain dead. It must be the purple hair. But this has been good, Charles. And I know we didn't technically dig into the case study, but I think we talked about a lot of aspects around that are really helpful. Maybe next week we can dig into the case study idea on that one. Well, thank you, Charles.
No, thank you.
Thanks all. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Maybe less purple. All right. Adios.